The only thing in this entire life that we can ever control is ourselves, period. We think we can do all the things, but the only thing is ourselves. As tools, I say
Mhm.
from that moment, no matter whatever happens in front of you, whether it is the food that you eat, the products you put on your body, how you parent, your relationships, when something happens in your community, work stress, literally it covers everything. It means you sit back for a second, you take a pause, and then you watch yourself. So, living meditation is remembering that every moment we have a chance to look at ourselves. And then the two words that I would just mentioned are whether we react or we respond. Reaction is based on emotion. You don't pause. Something happens, you react immediately. And that can be
Mhm.
very chaotic and dangerous. So that's reacting. Responding, even saying that word, Janelle, respond correctly, calms my nervous system because I've taught myself to respond in this way.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, Valerie. Thank you for
Thank you.
having
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy. My God, I was reading your work and things that you do.
me.
You're a mother and you're a wife, and on top of that,
Yes.
entrepreneur and everything else.
Yes.
How do you do it? I don't even know. But thank you for being here. Welcome to Inner Power Insights podcast, and our listeners are very excited that you're here.
That means a lot to me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, you are ninth generation doctor, tradition Chinese medicine, board certified and herbal, herbally,
Yes, herbology, herbalism,
herbology. Yeah,
medicine.
Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and you founder of a lab, JBK Wellness.
Yes,
And you
JB.
also have a book. You're author of. I'm gonna pronounce. I'm gonna try to pronounce
That's all
this.
right. Everyone does it, Valerie.
Myung
Do
Myung Sung. Was that
perfect.
close?
Almost perfect. It's so Myung Sung, the Korean art
Yes.
living meditation. But the main thing is
Meditation.
meditation.
Yes, the Korean art of living meditation. I'm going to start with asking you, did you always wanted to be a doctor? What inspired you to become a Chinese medicine doctor?
Mm, I love this question because I think it would make sense to basically anyone that this answer probably will evolve as I evolve, right? So how I feel I want to answer at the moment is yes, there's something in me that I can say in this moment in time at the age of 42 that yes, in some way, shape, or form, I believe feeling back that I always wanted to be a doctor. Now,
Mhm.
was I aware of this for my entire life? No. Um, Ultimately, it is because, as you mentioned, I am rooted in the teachings of my family. I am ninth generation in my lineage. I'm the first woman in
Yeah.
my lineage to ever be what I call like the guardian of the three M's: medicine, movement, and meditation, the tools or practices that have been handed down. And so, what I have come to truly appreciate, especially as I'm a little bit, in my adult years with my own children, what that looks like, is the fact that I was born into this. But interestingly, exactly what everything is rooted in, what I absolutely teach is that we all have a choice in this life. And so just because I was born into this, first of all, how grateful and fortunate I am for that. It was still my choice. This was never forced upon me. My father, who was my greatest teacher, he never told me that I had to be a part of this. He never told me I had to be a doctor. This never happened in my life, but I was inspired. I was inspired by watching him, by understanding, by rooting in what has been passed down. And so that's where when I really feel back is by my best way of responding, it was always inside of me. But it wasn't until I was about 19 that I actually made the decision to move forward on this path. So,
And it's such an amazing realization now, like you said, as we mature, as we grow. At
mhm.
first, when we're young, we don't really care much about our health or even have the education or the knowledge of
Yes.
it about and longevity, healthy lifestyle, being healthy. That's something that is like, when we're young, we're like, yeah, 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 it's good. But
Sure.
to be in this type of a work and now you realize, oh my God, this is great because now I know, because it matters once we age. That's when it really matters to know everything.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think about
Everything.
that often, Valerie. I appreciate that you acknowledge that because it's something every day I acknowledge that this has been a part of my life, but particularly in my about 1920 is when I actually started truly studying Eastern medicine. I was studying Western first. That's just a
Okay.
little insight
Yes.
there. And thought I could always go back and went this route. And I have to tell you, I am so grateful because yes, learning at that age where you don't think so much about these things, and they
Uh,
do. I like that you said that. I've actually that conversation has come up very frequently, particularly lately, that we have to be careful because many of us, especially when we're strong, when we handle so many different things, we forget that we are not in
mhm.
fact invincible. I am one of the people, but
Absolutely.
have to take care of ourselves. So for me, yes, understanding the medicine, the movement, the living meditation, the mindset, from a pretty early age, certainly when I was a child, but then really in my early adulthood, had changed the entire trajectory of my life. And again, I still have to make choices. Every one of us, whether we are aware of these things or not, have to make choices every moment on which way we want to live our life. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially now more than ever. People are very into the good news. People are very into longevity, lifestyle,
good.
healthy lifestyle. They wanted to look young, they wanted to feel young, but more importantly, they wanted to feel good about themselves. They wanted to have energy, they wanted to sleep good, they wanted to eat healthy food. It's been talked more now than it was 10 years ago. So
Yes.
a lot of people are going to that direction. Like I said, the good news is that we have a lot of information. The bad news is that it's too much information that sometimes it can get overwhelming.
Yes. I speak on this a lot. I acknowledge that a lot.
All right. So, what is your thought on that? If somebody wants to start a healthy lifestyle and they're not really familiar as much, they hear a lot of stuff and they don't know what direction to go to. And just the basic says, you know what, today I'm going to start to live healthy, to feel good inside, not just the outside,
Mhm.
inside.
Yes.
And I wanted to have energy. I wanted to sleep good. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you want them to start?
Absolutely. So I will answer that, but first I do have to also acknowledge that I started in these industries, if you will, 20 plus years ago.
Mhm.
And so 20 plus years ago, especially being I was on the forefront of natural products, clean beauty,
Mhm.
that this didn't even exist, and herbal medicine, Korean medicine. So that's where I began making formulations. So my day job, as I say, is I'm a contract manufacturer. So I make beautiful formulations rooted in the teachings that have been passed down for brands carried in your Sephora,
Yeah.
Credo, supplements, topicals, all the things. Well, 20 years ago, I started in the spa industry, to be
Okay.
honest, and Whole Foods and all of that type of thing. But back then, you're exactly correct. If I talked about and my response to you is, how do I do this? What do I recommend? Again, it goes back to what I call the three M's: medicine, movement, and mindset or living meditation. Okay.
Mhm.
So, 20 plus years ago, if I brought up any of this, people would look at me and, think I was crazy or they'd
Yeah.
laugh. Oh, I believe in that stuff. So interesting. It never really upset me. That's something that people ask, which makes a lot of sense. It didn't, because deep down, and I'm certain that comes from the fact that I'm and my lineage rooted in this. It's my duty. It's everything that I am. It's my essence. And so deep down, it never offended me because I always knew, and that again is the principle. Everything, especially the philosophy of what I teach, is rooted in what I call the Tao or the universe. Okay. And so that can be lifetimes of understanding, but also what it comes down to is we live in this universe and we're all human. Period.
Yeah.
The way I looked at it, whether no matter how many people tried to, they didn't try to. It was a little bit hard because when you truly come from your heart and you truly stand what you are and you don't feel the need to have to prove yourself to people, and I have had that for most of my life, especially when it comes to this aspect, I didn't feel like I had to convince people because I knew I'm human and you're human. And I know that what I have and what I hold, that I'm treasure, there's it's sacred to me, that if I do my duty and my job of communicating properly to you, the medicine, the movement, and the meditation, I know it's going to click because it's going to help you in some way,
Mm.
shape, or form. And so now, fast forward 20 plus years, you said it beautifully, Valerie. The Tao, the universe, is also all about yin and yang and balance. And in 20 years in my own life, I have seen it serious extremes, and that happens a lot in life, right? And so it went from people not understanding at all or even really being open to now, fast forward 20 plus years, here we are. You said it beautifully. I want to be a part of the acknowledgement and education, but now I find myself being a part of making it less overwhelming. Very interesting. Of teaching, I've now said it a few times, what I believe, what I live by, what I couldn't live without. how we can start living a life of longevity, of calm and balance. I don't say happiness because that's the extreme. Happiness, sadness, it comes and goes. But when we're able to constantly know how to balance, that's living meditation. Whether it's through the food that we eat, this is the medicine pillar, the things that we put onto and into our body, they're very important. We can keep it simple on a fundamental level,
Okay.
whether it is the movement. I teach movement as medicine. We have to incorporate movement. There's no doubt about it. I'm not afraid to say it anymore. What I teach is qigong, more of breath work and deep movements to make our body function properly, and then training our mind through the mindset. I call it 8 keys of living meditation. That is how. It sounds like a lot me saying this, and I recognize that. But really, my favorite thing is just to keep making it simple, keep coming back to the root. And every moment we have to watch ourselves. And that is how we can start on that path of living a life full of, vitality and all the things I just mentioned.
No,
So,
you're absolutely right. I love what you said that. No, because I had a conversation with a doctor yesterday,
mhm.
an actual physical doctor, and even they are changing their perception toward health a little bit differently.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're saying that by
Yes.
the time you come to me, it's too little, too late. We can
Mhm.
diagnose and prognose from there, but
Yes.
all of this matters way before you come to me. So I love what you said that. As far as breath works goes, it's
Right.
the simplest thing, right? It's
Yes.
really not that complicated, but I feel like we don't know how to breathe.
Yes, Valerie, time and time again, even I had to walk through this process, to be honest. I had to walk
Yeah.
through this process because, again, I've already started to share, I am a human being as well. I evolve even with
Yeah.
this understanding. And in my 20s, I certainly was much different than I am today. I felt, and maybe that's part of life. And you know what? When I look back, that probably was more of a balanced thing to do because that's where I was in my life. And I
Mm.
felt a lot more like I had to bulldoze through things. I'm a very strong woman. I know
Yeah.
you are as well, Valerie. And that's part of the balance
Yeah.
that we have to
Yeah.
find for our own health as well, right?
Yeah.
We can go down that road in a bit, but yes. Anyways, my point being that we feel like we have to do so much, or it has to be so powerful, or we have to do it for 3 hours, or we have to
Yeah.
sweat. So we make things so much harder than they need to be in a world
Mm.
where we're constantly on and things are challenging. And so maybe it's the time that we all live right now. But your breath is literally your energy, is chi for the
Mm.
who understand Eastern medicine. That
Right.
is so powerful. And time again, when people ask me, Janelle, I don't usually see you stressed very often, or how do you balance it all? We started our whole
Right.
conversation with this. Quite
Right.
frankly, it's my life. So I just kind of keep moving in the way that I teach. I couldn't live without it. But lately, I've been thinking about that more. And I
Right.
cannot tell you enough how one of the most powerful tools that I utilize in my own life and I teach is our breath work. Literally
Okay.
taking a pause. And that's how you can be in control of your own self. Breathing in through
Okay.
your nose, into your abdomen, exhaling, literally, this is a tip, through our mouth, even making
Excellent.
that noise through our mouth. That calms our nervous system. It does something in Eastern medicine. We call it regulating our chi. And in that one moment, we are so powerful as human beings, mind, body, and spirit, that if we are able to give ourselves that one moment to just sit back, root ourselves, that's what it feels like to me, and quickly reset ourselves. I mean, literally, it takes a couple of seconds. If
Right.
we consistently keep doing that and train ourselves to do that, that alone will make a huge difference in our lives.
Mm.
So that's what I'm saying. It can start there.
Right. So your recommendation for breath would be when is a good time to do it, and how what kind of a breath work would be appropriate for someone that it just wants to calm themselves down before they walk out of the door.
Absolutely. So I just gave you like kind of my breathwork
Right.
101. What
Yeah.
I teach is qigong. So
Okay.
interesting. I really thought that so many more people knew what qigong was. So I'm
I
I'm
don't.
making I'm making it a thing. See, there we go, Valerie. And I actually
Okay.
really appreciate this because I did not think I'd be teaching this at this point in my life. That's the truth. Another kind
I
of I thought I'd be doing this much later in life, but I'm realizing the universe, is kind of opening this door and I am running through it because people have to understand how powerful. So Qigong is the original. Many people know Tai Chi. So when I say Tai
right.
Chi, okay,
Right.
it's very interesting
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
So Tai Chi came from Qigong. Qigong is the first. Qigong
Okay.
is vital energy, Qi, and the study of the consistent. Isn't that beautiful? So when they translate Qigong, it's vital energy, the consistent cultivation or practice of. And I love that thousands of years ago, when they created this word, this phrase, this practice, they made sure to remind us all it has to be consistent. That's key. And so
Okay.
ultimately, it's the very first kind of summing up here, but I really wish for people to know this, and I'm
Okay.
on a mission to share as much. But Qigong is the first breath work. It's the first form of any workout that ever existed, right?
Okay.
So it started, like I said, 10,000 years ago with practitioners who wished to have longevity. I say they were the original biohackers, the Taoist immortals. They never wanted to
Yeah.
die. I mean, that these
Right.
are people. And so what this is a form of breath work where I literally just showed you one of the
Right.
most important pieces, breathing in through your nose,
And
exhaling.
excellent.
I recommend you can sit on a seat. I like that a lot. Or if you're just standing, you root your feet and it's with intention. You feel your feet on that ground, you ground yourself. You do that breath. Okay. That's
Okay.
the number one way you start any of this. And then I will often teach, I'm putting out more courses at some point, very simple movements of Qigong where you just connect all of your body, your meridian systems. For those of you who don't understand that, your chi travels through your body in channels or meridians, much like blood travels through your body and circulatory system, right? So we can
Mm,
kind of picture this. You don't have to know everything. That's my job.
right.
But the main point is if we're aware that things through our move through our body, both yin and yang, both the substances, literally the fluids and blood and everything that makes our actual organs, and also energy, then if we can picture this, we can check when something is off. We can start to become aware. For example, I'm starting to feel really anxious right now. Okay.
Mm,
Many of us are taught by many wonderful experts that we have to acknowledge when it's coming on, because then you can stop it and reset it.
right.
Let it
Right.
go too far, it's much harder, right? For
Right.
example, or we're feeling tired, or literally one of our stomach's not feeling well, right? Or we're
Right.
getting a headache. If we become more aware of ourselves, really just kind of tuning in like that every once in a while, we can feel when something starts to go off. And whether it is, we're specifically talking about the breath work, the moving meditation, as I call it, or Qigong, that is one of the quickest ways that in the moment we can rebalance, right? So
Mm,
then you have the other pillars, which is what our ancient teachers promised us basically and taught us that if we incorporate, as I said before, these three things into our life, we can live a life that is filled with health, vitality, calm, all the things. So that's the movement aspect. And I can answer more if you wish. But then simultaneously, the medicine, as I mentioned before, how we're eating, if we're eating consistently. That's a huge one that I teach that this
mm.
Western culture is very bad at. I don't usually make such strong statements, but I'm very serious. You go to other
I
cultures, they don't do this. Sorry.
I'm with you on this one. And I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you how I grew up and what we
I
used to
want to
eat.
hear.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to hear,
Because
please.
I say these stories to so many people. I came from a country that
Hmm.
we used to go to the market, buy fresh fruit, buy meat, come home, cook it, and eat it.
Right?
That's it. As simple as that. There's no box.
Right.
There's no artificial
Yes.
things. It's very literally simple. This is what we used to do. Talk about movement. You go to the market. You don't drive or anything. You go. That's your movement. You don't have to be in the gym for three
Yes.
hours a day. That was our movement. Then you come
Right.
in and cook.
It's
And
part of your life. Yes.
for people that are listening and they understand that cooking food consume time and is such a beautiful thing because when
Mhm.
you're chopping things, when you're spending time washing your vegetables and prepping your meat, you're not all over, you're very, very center
Meditation.
subconsciously.
That's what people
Subc-
don't understand, Valerie.
yeah,
That is meditation.
that is a
So
meditation.
continue.
But for some people, just say like, "Ah, I'm cooking, I'm cooking." But that itself, if you're busy, so busy, that itself, at
Understood.
least me, center you. Then you eat the food, you know exactly what's in it.
Yes.
You're not second guessing yourself. You're not reading all these label. God knows what language. Half of them I don't even know. Then you go Google it. Then you like at that point you don't even want to eat anymore.
Right.
So for me, eating was always connected to celebration. You
Absolutely. And
know?
may I say, Valerie, there's one other
Yes.
part that I know that I like this interaction right now because I feel like people can absorb this. We're not just
Yeah.
lecturing. So also the ritual of eating. I
Yeah.
don't believe me. I don't have much time, but believe me, I make even 3 minutes. I am not
Yeah.
kidding. 5 minutes. When I have my meal, I sit myself down and I eat that meal, right? Three
Thank you for
minutes
saying
even.
that. Yeah.
so important
Yeah.
for us. And these are the things that I don't always talk about in this way. And I love this because these are the small things we can do that make a huge difference. It's a word that I love very much and I'm sharing, particularly with women, because it's a very yin and we are yin beings. And it's called nourishing. I
Yeah.
recently said out loud to a close friend of mine and then started to share. It's still hard for me. I'll be the first to admit to say, I'm going to relax. Because to me, I have way too much literally to do my duties, like
Yeah.
from my lineage. I mean, all the things. So even the word relax to me is a little bit hard for me. But what I tell
Yeah.
myself is, Janelle, it's you this helps you to nourish yourself. I've trained my mind,
Yeah.
my body, and my spirit that when I say the
Hmm.
word nourish, that's a very Eastern medicine word. We're literally rebuilding ourselves. So I just want to take that moment because not
No,
many
I'm
people
glad
talk about this.
they
We talk
really
about
don't. They really
yes.
don't.
Mhm.
Then we sit in front of the TV and then occupy our mind with TV, and the
Right?
body and mind is completely disconnected. And that's
Yes.
another thing that you said with your family. And like I said, we connected food as in almost like a celebration and almost like
Mhm.
a, oh my God, let's go eat. It was exciting.
Yes, us too. Very
It
much
was
so.
very, very exciting
Mhm.
to eat, to spend family time together. And it got less and less and less and less
Yeah.
as society changed. And like you said, I love what you said, that the little thing what matters. So by the
Yes.
time you go on grocery shopping and getting your food, coming
Right.
home, cooking it, you're spending time with yourself. If you get your kids involved, that's even better, which I
Oh,
always did.
yes.
And then
Absolutely.
sitting around, around the table with your family and chit chatting and
Yes.
putting the phone away, getting to know each other, understanding each
Yes.
other. That is all mind, body, and soul.
And I appreciate this. Actually, something I haven't shared. I have two boys, 7 and 11.
Yes, yes,
They're my three.
yeah.
And my oldest, I remember we were sitting down, this wasn't so long ago, and I was cooking dinner, and here's the reality, because I really don't ever want to paint this picture that is not reality. It is
Yeah.
not easy for me either. Let me be very clear. I have multiple jobs. I have my two
Mhm,
boys. I am married for 20 plus years. We worked together for 20 years
mhm.
almost. And all the things, right? Picking them up from school, doing my work during the day, taking them to activities. So let me be very clear that it is not so easy to make this time. We have to make it. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's not even possible for us because now my little one is starting sports, they're very athletic, all the things. But I say to myself and out loud that at least, and sometimes it changes, at least 2 to 3 times a week, I like
yeah,
to be at home and we like to sit down. And we find that that's possible. And we have to go with the Tao. We have to go with the flow. So if it
yeah,
doesn't happen, I don't get down on myself. I also travel a lot. If I'm not home, I'm not home. What am I going to do? But it's something that it means a lot to me. And it means a lot to my boys. And it means a lot to my husband. I didn't finish. So I was making dinner. And my Vincey, my older, my 11, he happened to say to me, kind of in passing, Mom, I'm really happy that we sit down for dinner. I know that that doesn't happen a lot, but it really makes me happy. And I was like, stopped everything. I was like, Vince, I'm so happy that you acknowledge that. And I can't tell you, sweetheart, it's my favorite thing too. Even me sitting here cooking dinner, because now my youngest is a little older and I can do this without, all
mhm.
screaming in the background every 2 seconds. Those are even that him doing his homework. I always, and even if it feels like I'm exhausted and I don't really feel like cooking and I do things to help myself to make that happen, it's those moments that I know I'm not going to have one day. And so it's a lot about prioritizing as well, prioritizing what's important today, what's important
Yeah,
right now, based
yeah,
on things that are important to me in my whole life. So, and yes, food
yeah,
is a huge one for us. It's a huge one for
yeah.
us when we
And
travel, all the things.
and
Hmm.
also a lot of people overthink too much of this, right? They make too much of it. So for example, I'm glad you said things
Yes.
happens. You don't have to be perfect. It's
Yes.
okay
No.
if you don't eat food all the time together, or it's okay that once in a while you take it. It's just
Yes.
that we are so wanted to make everything perfect and everybody happy. A lot of time we
Yes,
try
Valerie.
to make everybody happy, and that's what causes the stress in our own self. And then that's it. But if you look at it the other way, yes, you're cooking. Yes, you're yelling, like, come on, do this to give yourself somebody a chores. You do this, I do this, you do
Yes.
this. You're together and it's a chaos and this and that. But that actually is better than you to be perfect and be like, oh my God, I have to do this
Absolutely.
every day. Because we
Absolutely.
are, that's what the new generation are thinking. They're thinking that we have to work, we have to do this, we have to drive, we have to go to every game of every kid, we have to do the
Right.
homework perfectly. That's okay. You don't feel like doing
Yes.
homework today? You can tell the teacher, I didn't feel good. That's okay. I will do it tomorrow.
Right.
And the
Right.
kids
Right.
feel relaxed and you feel relaxed. And this is what is missing in today's society because everybody's trying so hard to be perfect on everything.
Yes. Yes.
The
Something I
motherhood,
find
being a
myself
wife.
saying, yes, something I find myself saying is, life is already, and I don't love to sound pessimistic but it's the truth. Life is already challenging. Why are we making life harder?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I say that out loud. Why are you making this more difficult than it needs to be? and
Is
and this is something that I trained myself first and then started living it this way. And I have better days and worse days, of course, but then it's something I start to share. And literally I'll
yeah.
say that and I will feel myself calm. I will see the people around me calm. It's going to be okay. And by the way, people such as us, it's never going to stop. Ever,
You're
ever. And when
never
you
gonna
recognize that, yes, it keeps going. Life keeps going. And believe me, I care. And believe me, I do want to acknowledge something because I love that you said that, Valerie, and I have a feeling we're very alike. And so, yes, you are correct. I like to get everything done and do it to your very best. However, I agree with you. I'm going to repeat what you said. However, if in the moment it doesn't start to happen, it is okay. And this is kind of a newer thing in my life too. Practicing what I preach,
Yeah.
even with my boys. That's a great example. Do your very best. I need you to get on first honors. But deep down inside, of course, it's the age old. I know that if I'm seeing that they're doing their very best and he doesn't get on first honors, guess what? It's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. Grades are it's very black and white. So that's an easy example. But, it's
Yeah,
simple.
absolutely. I
I
always
know.
say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and if your parents always expect for 100%, if you get 50, you're lucky.
Yeah, this
Good
is the
enough
truth.
for me because as long as you have expectation from them, as long as you're telling them to do your best, and if they do 50% of their best, guess what? They're always going to be a winner
Yeah, and you know what
because they're
what
about
keeps coming to
average.
me? Yes, Valerie, and a lot of times that means they can balance many things. I know it's a balance, but one of the things I think that matters, not I think I know matters the most to me, and that keeps coming to mind. Why? And sometimes we have to ask ourselves, why is this important? Why is it important? What
Yeah.
is it that I want? And everything that we do. So many people. In fact, I'm hosting my first event, Warrior Within. I will have more, and it's come to me that the main question I want to ask everyone is what is it that you want? So many of us have no idea, and that's why we get stuck in that cycle. Very simple once again. But even when it comes to the boys, something that I find time and time again when I check myself, why is it important for me? Because if I don't know, how am I supposed to inspire them? It's
Mm-hmm.
because I need you to care. That's the word that keeps coming to me. Care. So
Mm-hmm.
many people just kind of get in this thing. We don't know what we want, and then we stop caring because we don't even know what we're doing. It's like
No,
on this
really.
crazy cycle. So for the boys, I think one of the most important things to me is that they care. You better care about your grades. They know if they ever tell me they don't care or they tell me they are bored, the crazy Korean comes out of me. Like, oh, you're bored? Oh, I'm so happy you said that because I literally have 1 million things for you to do right now. They know never to say that. And there's certain like trigger words and you don't care, then I don't care. That's fine. We don't have to care.
Yeah.
Like, don't even go to school then.
No,
you know,
I love
I'm
no,
extreme with
I
that.
love what you said
Mhm.
that they don't care because I heard there was a one guy motivation speaker. He asked a little boy 11 years old, and actually the 11 years old asked him, "I have a question," and he said, "What's your question?" He said, "I get distracted very easily," and he
Mm,
said, "What distracts you?" He said, "I don't know." He
yeah,
said, "Well, you don't know what distracts you, but you just doing things just like that." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Why do you do that?" And I kid you not, he said, "I don't care."
there you go. But he's telling the truth.
Yeah, he said, "I don't care."
He said the
And
truth.
that's when they told him
Mhm.
that the reason you don't care is because you don't have a goal on what is there that you
Yes,
want. And that's why you're easily getting distracted. But I'm going
yes,
to go back to the part
yes.
that you said, which I'm thinking about was so beautiful.
Mm,
When you talked about breath work and you said that sitting down and doing the breath work. I
mm,
love that. I hear a lot of people talk about meditation and breath work, but what you just said was really important because I think about this all the time. You
mm.
actually spending time with yourself. How many times somebody is sitting down and thinking about their internal organs and internal itself? Not a lot.
Yes,
External,
yes,
yes. We look at ourselves in the mirror. We look at, oh, I don't know, I look at this way. But
right?
they don't really pay attention to like what you said, the blood
Perfectly put.
flow, the
Hmm.
heartbeat, the
Yes,
kidneys, the oxygen that goes through your body. And if you
yes.
can do that, you can catch anything that is not matching your body just like that.
Absolutely. And also you did ask me a question before and I do want to acknowledge that one of the times throughout my day that I make sure to do this because it's important to me is in the morning. Oftentimes we hear people, I'm one of them, will do
Yeah.
these practices in the morning, work out, do the breath work. But also, let me make myself very clear. I do it for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
Right. Right.
I go to bed. I've never slept tons. I definitely take care of myself. I sleep the amount I'm supposed to, but I don't need to. And I want to get a lot of things done. So I have to nourish myself that much more. So when I wake up in the morning, my boys know this too. Even when they were 2 years old, they knew, do not interrupt mommy for 15 minutes. If you want to come out and do something, you do it with me. Otherwise, you stand outside of that room and you wait for mommy to be done for 10 to 15 minutes, unless it's an emergency. You have to
Two,
communicate these things.
I
And go ahead, Valerie, tell me.
I said you killed two birds in one stone. Talk about
Absolutely.
discipline.
Yes, yes.
You're
And
disciplining
they
them and
learn,
you're taking time for yourself.
well, I think maybe three things, because then also they're watching me. They're
Yeah.
like,
And
huh,
then
this is what she does. you know? So, but
that's
that's the yes.
beautiful. That's
Ah, appreciate
beautiful.
it.
Now let's talk about what's the difference between living in meditation and regular meditation.
Okay, living meditation is every moment. So, we are discussing so many things. We could talk about every one of these things
I
for hours.
know.
But why I came up with this phrase, if you will, that's not a phrase that my ancestors generations ago has used, a living meditation. But when I sat down to write my book with
Okay.
Watkins and Penguin Random House, I had to
Hmm.
think of a title.
Okay.
And as I was going through, I kept hitting me because meditation at that time, a couple years ago, finally started to catch on. 20 years ago, like I said, people thought it was very odd. I was like an alien. Okay. So I kept thinking to myself, and I can't tell you exactly at what I can picture myself sitting at this desk going through this, but it hit me. Meditation is becoming, people are understanding the importance of it. Why? Again, let's take ourselves back for a second. Usually I ask this question, especially when I'm in an event, and I love hearing the answers. But usually it comes down to an awareness, calming myself, having gratitude, all these things that we've talked about this entire conversation of just stepping back, what I call rooting, centering, grounding ourselves for a moment, expand, zooming out is what I say, you know.
Hmm.
And so living meditation, that's what meditation, the practice of, does for us. And I'm a proponent of moving and seated meditation as well, as I've shared with
Okay.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
techniques for that, even
Okay.
more than I've shared. But it hit me, why is it something wasn't clicking? It's like people know how important this is. And then I found people getting stressed out, as we've talked about, because they
Yeah.
can't sit down for hours to meditate. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is not what our ancient teachers taught us.
No.
Also, it never stops. That's living meditation. Living meditation, and that's 8 keys, that's 8 chapters of the book, but they're principles that we can constantly remind ourselves and root ourselves in to train our mind, just like we train our body. Living meditation means every moment you watch yourself. And also simultaneously remembering that every moment we have a choice to watch ourselves or not. It all
Right.
comes down to us. The only thing in this entire life that we can ever control is ourselves, period. We think we can do all the things, but the only thing is ourselves. Meaning, and it goes a little bit further, that I love words. It's very visual to me. I make it that way to help myself as tools. I say
Mhm.
from that moment, no matter whatever happens in front of you, whether it is eat the food that you eat, the products you put on your body, how you parent, your relationships, when something happens in your community, work stress, literally it covers everything. It means you sit back for a second, you take a pause, and then you watch yourself, with different tools, habits, and all the things we do surrounding this. Again, it's a repetitive, because that's how we train ourselves, and that's what it is: eating properly, moving properly, thinking properly. It all works together. So living meditation is remembering that every moment we have a chance to look at ourselves, and then the two words that I would just mentioned are whether we react or we respond. Now, those two words might seem like, what is she talking about? They're the same, or I don't understand. I've made
Right.
it mean something. To me, reaction is based on emotion. You don't pause. Something happened, you react immediately. And that can be
Hmm.
very chaotic and dangerous. Oftentimes, it actually takes it outside of ourselves, too, which is the number one no no. Now we don't have control over our own selves and what we're going to do. So that's reacting. Responding, even when I say this word, means something to me. Even saying that word, Jenelle, respond correctly, calms my nervous system, because I've taught myself to respond in this way. Now, responding to me means, how are you going to balance with, this is the practice of meditation, what is in front of you? Again, we've talked about this the whole time, Valerie. This stressful situation is happening. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to let it ruin my entire moment right now? Am I? Because I
Mm.
can. I've certainly
Right.
done that before. And where did that lead me? It still
Mm.
existed. for example, right? So I'm going to
Yeah.
respond to this accordingly. I'm going to handle it because that is what I do. But am I going to make myself so, ruin the moment with my kids, yeah, and make myself sick for a moment? No. This is examples of living meditation. So ultimately, it's every moment. Every moment we can meditate. Even you said, our ancient teachers teach us whether we're cooking, whether we're just sitting here, even in a conversation could be meditation. That's
Yeah.
what we have to change our mindset of what that means. So that's living meditation.
That is so true. That is so true.
Mhm.
And it's so easy to do. Once you put it that way, when
Yes,
people look at it from that
habits.
perspective, yes, it's definitely, and the more you do it, the more you become aware of it and the
Yes,
more you practice. And I love you said react and taking some time to understand it and say to yourself, how am I going to react to this? And how am I understanding it? We jump right ahead. Okay, let's do this
yes.
for I react to it and then go to the next one. But I love the fact that you put it in such a simple word that you can do it anywhere. You can do it anywhere.
Anywhere,
You can do anything you're doing, whether you're working, whether you're eating, whether you're watching TV, whatever,
right?
as long as you're aware of that and you can bring
Right.
yourself back. And I call it home, bring yourself home.
Love that.
Stay home. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then,
Yes.
so what are some common myths about Eastern medicine and philosophy that you hear all the time?
Oh my goodness. That's a good question. Well, as I kind of already shared with you, part of me doesn't pay attention when they come in front of me. I say that jokingly, but seriously. No one has asked me that in quite some time. It really does come down to the first thing that comes to me, which I shared for example, 20 plus years ago, is like, oh, I believe in that. That's really cool. Like it's like this belief system or some magical, mystical thing. When in fact, Eastern medicine in particular, from acupuncture, meaning points and meridians and organ systems and how everything works and relates to herbal medicine, this is not some kind of magical, miraculous, oh, it is miraculous, like magical belief system. This has been in existence for 10,000 years. Like, can we even 10,000 years? That is a very long time. And
Yeah.
my favorite thing that my teacher taught me, and I definitely share, is people aren't stupid. I'm going to say it super strong. There's a reason it's existed for this long, and it's not because it doesn't work. These things stay here for thousands of years. We still practice them. All of the people out there that are inspiring and truly help people. I time and time again, when you look one step deeper, we're all speaking on the same principles because they don't change. I started.
Right.
We live in this universe. We are human beings. We all wish to have balance in our lives that we can live fulfilled, happy, lives of longevity, health, good relationships. We're all looking for the same thing. And
Right.
so that's the biggest myth, is that this, and that's changing a lot. That's why I hesitate to answer, because I'm so grateful. It's changing so much than 20 years ago. I have to say that finally I'm launching a couple products. I do products for everyone else, but I never have some of my own brand. And so many
Which
people.
we'll talk about. Yeah,
Yes,
sounds
yes. And I don't
good.
even,
Yes.
but the reason why I bring this up, I haven't shared this with anyone else yet, so I'm excited, is that when I finally agreed, fine, I will make a couple products for those who do not have access. And I thought, what am I going to call it? And then it occurred to me, I called my team and I said, I want to call them longevity potions. And I hope that people understand that's because when I used to go out 20 years ago and talk about Eastern medicine, that's a science that's existed for 10,000 years, basically. They used to be like, oh, can you make one of those potions? Like I'm some kind of, with my cauldron. So I leaned in. I was like, I love that. Let's call them potions, just to remind everyone that,
And
so.
also, you get that title. I could tell you right now because when we come from another country to America, I know you're born
Mhm.
and raised here, but I came from my
Yes.
daughter's friends always tell me, I kid you not, I kid you freaking not. Every time they get sick, they call me. Can you make your potion, Val?
Oh my gosh, I
Can you
love it,
make?
Val. See, I'm like, all right, we're going to call them potions.
Yeah, they always said everything.
That's so
I had a
funny.
call this morning. Yeah, I had a call this morning. One of my daughter's friend is in California. She's
Oh my
having
gosh,
cold.
I love it.
She's like, I'm coming back today, and you're gonna make me that potion. And
Yeah.
she does have no idea. And on that potion, and if I give
Mhm.
you to what I put is all fruit and ginger
Yes,
and all that stuff, right?
absolutely.
Things that we already know. Now I learned it from my grandmother, because when we
Yes.
used to get
That's what I
sick,
love.
I kid you not. My grandmother would give you that potion for everything. If you
Oh,
break your
yes.
leg, drink this.
I love that, but it's so true.
If you have a
Yes.
headache, you have a baby, drink this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was there from the herbs, from the nature,
Yes.
from the ground. They were put somehow together and then
Right.
give it to you. And then it was no medicine, it was no doctor. Take this and you're going to feel better.
Right. Right.
Psychologically alone. Potion, talk about potion. The word
Yes.
potion, I
No, I'm
kid you
glad you
not.
love this. You're the
It
first person, and this is the first community I've shared this with, just so you
I
know.
am so
So
I'm so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait. You
that
have
means
to
so
let me
much to
know the
me.
yeah when you started because when I was reading, I was like, she has to make her own stuff.
Yes,
She
I
has
know.
to.
I appreciate it, and it should be launched in like a week, so it'll be up there.
Oh,
Simple
I'm so glad.
girl products, but I'm grateful, and I'm grateful to be able to share that story.
Oh, and I'm
It was
so
a
honored
special
that
moment.
you did. Yeah, and we're definitely gonna bring you back so you can talk about your products.
Thank you,
And
darling.
we tell people what it is and so they can go
Yes,
ahead and actually get it. But when
absolutely.
you say products, now I know you go in the lab and you do all of that. What are something you look for to make sure that they're like healthy and work for people? Do you custom design for if every
Yes.
individual based on what?
Well, okay. So there's two different things that come to mind because of what I do. I businesses or companies rather, which is much better, will come to us to create their formulations. I think this is what you're asking, and so they sometimes it'll be huge companies that come to us like huge ones that want it
Hmm.
more innovative because now we are moving into this world of more plant medicine of
Right.
very innovative integrative ingredients, and not everyone knows how to do that.
Hmm.
Sometimes people come to us with an incredible ingredient from the Amazon or from Korea or Japan or
Right.
Latin America. It can start with that. It can start with a concept. So many people come to us with so many different things, and then it's my job with my beautiful team to create beautiful formulations. Again,
Okay.
skincare, body care. So that's what I do. One
Okay.
of the things that I educate and have for so many decades now that I really wish for people to understand, and you just said it, a beautiful thing when it comes to making any kind of product, formula I call it, but any kind of product, is the synergy of ingredients. That's true herbal medicine. So of
Okay.
course I went to school for gosh knows how long. I still can't talk about it. I'm like, school. Um, but we study each individual herbal ingredient. In fact, in
Okay.
Materia Medica, I always keep next to me. That's like the
I
encyclopedia
see
of
it. Yeah.
ingredients, which by the
Mhm.
way, you said it too, everything comes from plants. Our modern medicine,
Everything.
everything in some way, shape, or form comes from the earth. And
Mhm.
so we study every single ingredient, especially when you become a doctor. But
Mhm.
herbal medicine takes it a step further. And that's what not a lot of people understand. When choosing a product, people ask me this often, whether it is
Mhm.
skincare, body care, internal supplements, it is so important to make sure that that company has a good formulator or has a good manufacturer. They might not just come out and say that, but you can study them now enough because
Mhm.
companies have to tell their story because that is what us as consumers now look for, thank
Right.
goodness. And
Yeah.
so just make sure that someone knows what they're doing with the ingredients. That's what I mean. So true herbal medicine is actually not just the individual ingredient, but how they're beautifully put into a recipe. That
Oh,
is
okay.
someone who truly knows what they're doing. Why is that important? In conclusion, answering your question that you asked, because through that, that is how we have products that really absorb into our body, that our body actually
Right.
takes and utilizes them properly. Key. Just because it's the best ingredient and you heard it on TikTok or wherever, or some person said it's so good does not always mean it's good for you. And furthermore, if it's not formulated properly, it might not even be effective or it could actually create side effects. It's important.
Because we are gearing toward that more and more. The doctors,
Oh,
surgeons,
absolutely.
everybody's doing that based on your own, because we look different. We are
Yes.
different internally. Everything is different. One medicine does not work for everybody. They used to do that, failed
Yes.
miserably. And I feel like the same thing when it comes to beauty, when it comes to taking stuff, it's kind of like every individual. So that would be really interesting to see that what you can come up with and people can look at it and say, wow,
Right.
this is me. This is
Absolutely.
perfect for
Yes, I
me.
do want to acknowledge, though, that, and this is not the easy thing to do. You are absolutely correct. And Eastern medicine is built upon looking at every single person in that moment. So even you, Valerie, you change every day, every
Yeah.
hour. And
Yeah.
so if I were to treat you, you would just sit in front of me and I would see you in that moment, of course,
Mhm.
considering all the things.
Right.
Agree. So customized products, huge. Now, for example, some of the formulas that have, well, many of the formulas that have been passed down in my lineage are created in such a beautiful way that at the core, they can help to rebalance things. I do want to
Mm.
acknowledge this. And that
Okay.
is, for example, in my products, I'm using bee bong formula. Those are my secret formulas. So we
Okay.
can get into all the, interesting and,
Mhm.
words, secret, this and that, but what does it mean? It means at
Right.
the end of the day, these particular formulas, because it's not easy to do, this is why they're treasured. This is why at
Right.
one point they were only for royal families because no one would let it out, is that those formulas, because they have such, they're powerful ingredients and they're so synergistically, they work together because my teachers, the masters of my lineage, now myself, we know how they work
Mm.
together. That when it goes into your body, it's almost like little practitioners that know how to, because the herbs are so powerful, they know how to
Right.
reset what's happening. So I do want to acknowledge there's two things. If you do not have the ability to do that, then yes, you better find products that are very customized for where you're at. If you can
Right. Right.
find
Right.
some products that at the core level are able to rebalance, then that's also incredibly powerful, but not as easy to find.
Because it's important. Your knowledge is your knowledge. And then when I listen to you and I'm like, okay, I know that she knows her stuff. And I
Mhm.
want our listeners to differentiate between that.
I do.
She's been around the block. She's done her study. She knows what she's talking about. She works with a lot of companies
Right.
and her products is she got a lot of feedback. Everybody loves it. It works. Then there's other stuff like you see people see a TikTok and it comes from someplace, and then they see the same name, they slap some name on it, and they're like,
Right.
"Wait a minute, I just didn't see anything." So that's the difference that a lot of people should know when it comes
Yes.
to their health. I think
I
that's
agree.
their responsibility to know
Yes,
that. And
it is.
even though, like you said, some ingredients are good for everybody, you
Right.
have to know what that is. And that's
Yes.
why I love that you educate them and you talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, okay,
Yes.
this is what I'm doing."
Yes, no, I appreciate that. And I take that very seriously. And that is really important. And I'm very happy to be a part of the education of it all. And reminding, you said it beautifully, we are in charge of our own, going back, of our own mind, body, and spirit. So
Yeah.
you don't have to know every single thing, but just be aware. Be
Oh,
aware that
absolutely.
everything you hear, I mean, you'll make yourself crazy.
Well, you done the homework for them.
Yes, and that's my job, right? Let me do
Yeah.
my job, and then I will come to you for what you do. Believe me.
Well, that's what I said in the beginning that we started. You can get very, very overwhelmed
Oh,
because
so
there's so
overwhelmed.
much information. So that's why we have you over here to talk about it. Because when you hear
Mhm.
it, when they hear you, they're like, "Oh, she got it. She done the homework. I don't need to do that. I just want to see the benefit of whatever she's creating." And like
Mm,
you said, your products is coming up, so we can't wait for that. Warrior mindset. Let's talk about that.
okay.
All right. What do you mean by that? And how can somebody develop that kind of mindset?
Well, I came up with this kind of phrase again. I do like the phrases, as you've seen. It's very important. We all do this, but I particularly like it because it gives us a visual, because that's how my mind works. So when
Okay.
I started creating my events that I'm starting to do, it's the first one will be just in a couple of weeks in Costa Rica. I'm very, very excited, where I teach on the three M's hosted by me. So I'm in a lot of different events that I'm a part of, but this one is by me. And so I
Beautiful.
thought to myself, what is really important that really resonates with myself? Because it has to come from within, because then when I share, we all feel it, right? And so
Right.
that's where it hit me, this understanding of warrior, because I believe that I feel I'm a warrior from past lives, this life, and so it's the warrior within. And so I love that. No one's asked me this, Valerie. I really like this. And so, but I love that you asked me this, because when I say warrior, I am certain that I know what most everyone thinks of. And I
Right.
think of it too. It is
Right.
I mean, what do you think of, Valerie, when I say warrior?
Powerful.
Hmm.
Powerful, strong,
Right?
capable, you
Yes.
know, those are the words that come to my mind. Is strong.
Yes. I appreciate that in myself as well. But what true warrior, like we think of like the samurai, for example, okay? The shogun, the warriors in Korea and East Asia, because that's usually when I think of this. And actually, I mean, throughout our entire world, every one of our cultures, but coming from my lineage and what I understand, that's exactly what comes to mind. But something I really wish, and it was when I decided to put this out into the world, even that phrase and that name, that role, warrior, I really wish to share, again, as we touched on before, that a true warrior, that strength, right? That power. It can even feel aggressive. Like warriors, you're usually a little scared of them. They're not some, quiet
Yeah.
little person off in the corner.
Right.
But a true warrior, the way I understand and what's been taught to me for generations has been handed down, it actually comes from a place of so much compassion. It actually comes from a place of so much strength but flexibility. That's a true warrior. A warrior is someone for so much heart, and they move balanced between their mind, their heart, and their spirit. But it's actually a much more sacred, soft place.
Mm.
Because usually those warriors care so much about their people. Usually those warriors have such a duty that they've connected their entire life to. And so that's what the warrior mindset or the warrior within means to me. And also the other side of it, right? So the movements I teach, absolutely. The philosophy, the mindset, living meditation that I teach absolutely can make us powerful and strong. The medicine absolutely can make us powerful and strong. But also that yin and that yang, that balance. I think this is the time that for even myself in my life is always rooting back to actually my greatest strength is my flexibility. My greatest strength is my compassion. My greatest strength is how much I care about leaving something on this earth by the time I leave that's going to make a difference in some way, shape, or form. That is what a true warrior is. Actually, a true warrior is someone who lives, takes care of themselves, because if I don't exist, I can't do anything anyways. Let me be very clear. But cares for others. We do things to make sure that we do something good for others. And that's what a true warrior is. So
You
there you
said
go.
it beautifully.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That's so beautiful. And if you look at it, I'm so glad we talked about that because I want people
I
to
am
know what
too.
does that mean to you and
Mhm.
how it is. Because like I said, we automatically go to the things that we think of, we've
Yes.
been thought of. But that side of it, like you said, the caring, the appreciation, the humbleness,
Yes.
the gratitude, and
Yes.
caring for others. And I mean, they're giving their life for others. So
Yes.
that itself
Yes.
is like,
Thank you. This is the
it's
truth. Hmm.
it's really, really important. And I'm glad that you said that because again and again, we've been told we have to be strong, we have to this, but
Right.
those are the things that can actually balance you,
Yes. And can
mind,
give us.
body, and soul.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
eight, so I have the 8 keys of living meditation. We're certainly not going
Yeah.
to go through that right now as we close
No.
the conversation, but I will mention that one of the ones that I live by all of them, but means a lot to me is the eighth key, and it's called Be Like Bamboo. It sounds very mysterious and East Asian like,
I
and I
love
did that
bamboo.
purposely. But what that teaches us is exactly what we're talking about, and this is very important to me in my life, especially my character and my spirit, as I've shared now in our whole conversation. And what that means is so often in this life, we feel like we have to be so strong, almost rigid in the way we do things, bulldoze through. I certainly have walked through this in my life. But the truth is, the strongest is actually, for example, like bamboo. So you have a stiff board, right? And we can picture this just
Hmm.
like the karate chop, right? You have this
Hmm.
hard board, and if someone hit you with it, it would really hurt, and it's hard to break, and you have to practice to break it. But guess what? When you have something that rigid, if you hit it too many times, or if you hit it just the right way, the board will break.
Right.
Okay. Different than bamboo. First of all, it's rooted. A key of the conversation we've had this whole time, you have to
Yeah.
constantly root yourself. Okay. And next, it's so flexible. So when the winds of life come, a huge storm comes, the bamboo will come all the way to the ground. But as soon as that storm passes, it doesn't break, it bounces right back up. And that is a warrior mind. That is the warrior within. That is be like bamboo. And that I believe at this point in all of our lives, probably in most of the world, that is something that I believe we all really have to practice right now. And that is what's going to help us to live more calm, balanced lives. So that's that.
I am so glad you said that because I teach inner power, strength, self
Mm,
identity, and self acceptance.
yes.
Because, like you said, nothing is set in stone. We
Nope.
change. You grow
All the time.
up, where you come from, what is your religion, how your background, your mentality, how you look, everything is. And I notice over and over when I go to my when we talk about this in the class, we talk about it with my clients all the time. If you don't know who you are, like you
Yes.
said, when you don't know your root of who you are and what you
Yes.
want in life, no matter what technique you use, it's not going to work.
Yes. That's exactly correct.
It's
Number
not,
one, the first key, I did the eighth. The
yeah.
first key of living meditation in my book, wherever it is know your true self.
Know
There you
your
go.
true self.
Can't do
And
anything
that's
without that. And it's
I
a
literally
lifelong.
my whole practice is around that because
Yes.
I when I talk to people, I say it all the time. Do you know who you are? Because
Yes.
we're so programmed to
Mm.
go by the society, do things that we
Yes.
were told, expectation of
Yes.
our parents, expectation of our friends, our family, our kids, and everything. It just kind of like make us who we are. But
Yes.
I'm glad that you said that when we talked about breath work, you sit down in that moment, ask yourself, who am I and what who am I? What do I like? What do I don't like? What do I want to
Right.
do? And a lot of people missing that. So what they do is go run after something that they
Yes.
would make them happy, but it's really not. So bamboo is really a good example of that, to be rooted,
Mhm.
to be
Yes.
flexible, to have
Mhm.
to see that it's adaptability that you have, that you
Yes.
can move with the wind, and that's okay. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but as long as you remind yourself of that, I'm going to be okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
Before I let you go, and I don't want to take too much of
Yes.
your time, what does inner power means to you?
Inner power means to me, everything we just talked about. Inner power means always coming from a place of that root, always coming from a place of what I call my duty or our mission, our purpose. That's the word. I say duty, purpose. Inner
Purpose.
power is always coming from a place of purpose, constantly rooting in that and coming from deep within ourselves, from our heart, really. And from
Mm.
there, we have no idea how much strength we have. We truly are miraculous. When we say the human mind, body, and spirit is miraculous, we truly are. And then also acknowledging that we do have to take care of that because life is short. It is really short. And, we have so much to live, but it really is. And so if we don't remember that, then we can lose track of what means the most to us. So that's what my inner power is never losing that purpose behind who I am, what I'm here for. And that is how I can extend into being a good mom, a good wife, a good business owner, a good formulator. I mean, you name it. So everything comes from that.
Said beautifully. And it's so admiring that not only you doing it for yourself, but you also sharing it with the world and
Mhm.
making world a better place. So I thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your
Mm,
insights and educating us about ourselves. And I can't wait for your products to come out and we'll be the first one to bring it back and you can introduce and have tell people to this is what you have to, like I said, you've done their homework for them. So can't get easier than that. Thank you
Thank you,
so
God.
much for being here.